Okay, here we are. Got two cameras going, so I'm high tech at the moment. I'm in Barwon Heads at the far western side of the Bellarine Peninsula, and I've got myself a bit of breakfast, a nice salami baguette, which I'm going to eat while I drive, because I can do two things at once. Let me just grab the top half of this salami baguette. We're going to explore the Bellarine Peninsula by car, which is kind of groovy. I'm in a very tight little side street now. There's a place called Coffetti back on the main road there, which does really great coffee. I remember it from about 4 years ago when I was here. And so I stopped in to get some coffee and to get a touch of breakfast, a little déjeuner, and go from there. So we're heading out onto the main road. We're not stopping at Barwon Heads. We are actually stopping in Ocean Grove. I'm going to go down to the beach at Ocean Grove and take a look at it. It's almost winter. It's like a day or two off winter here. The temperature at the moment is not great. It is, he said, looking at his dashboard in just a moment, 11 degrees centigrade. And we're heading through Barwon Heads, basically Chucked-a-Yui here. And we're going to go across Barwon Heads waters. And then we're going to head to Ocean Grove. Mostly because, why the hell not? I haven't been out on the road for a while. Been mostly at home doing stuff, as the other channel would suggest. And this time I'm out on the road, exploring the world. I know this area fairly well. Been here a number of times, but I haven't done it for the channel before. So we're about to go across the bridge. I don't know what the tide is at the moment, but we're going across the bridge and then we're going to head over to Ocean Grove. This is the Barwon River we're about to cross. It opens to the ocean just to our right here. Tide's not too high or too low, but not bad at all. It is, as I said, cold. It's cloudy. I went through a big fog bank getting here from Melbourne, which was kind of fraught because it was peak hour, and the traffic was fairly heavy on a 100-kilometre-an-hour road to get to where I was going. But yeah, I'm not feeling bad at all. Just let me have a bite of this breakfast. Excuse me while I chew. Only, what is it? 3 kilometres to Ocean Grove. It's not far. That is good. I actually thought it was a bit further to Ocean Grove from Barwon Heads, but it's not. Oh, just what I needed. I have this tendency to not eat until I get somewhere when I'm doing these driving vlogs, or even the travel vlogs when I was doing the public transport. The free public transport, ends in a day or two. And now I've got the hiccups. But I didn't really have anywhere I wanted to go, and I didn't have a full day to commit. So I'm not doing that. Ooh. Though, to be honest, until the end of the year, public transport fares across Victoria are only half price, which means I can get to crazy places for return fare of about $5. So I may well do that for the channel in future. But the free one is ending at the end of this month, which is only a day or two away, and we're almost at Ocean Grove. A place I don't mind. A lot of retired people live here, and I'm not one of them. And they bought a place, or sold their place in Melbourne, live down here, take the dog for a walk on the beach, that kind of gear. And we're at Ocean Grove according to that sign just there. Another bite. Bit of an old school place. Lots of older houses, but they do usually have some reasonable cafes. But the one in Barwon Heads is just that little bit better. The coffee is beautifully on point. In fact, on my personal Facebook page, the picture they've got, the big wide picture they have at the top of your Facebook page, is my coffee from confetti in Barwon Heads because it just looked beautiful, and I took a really nice photo of it, and that's a picture I've had there for years. So I'm glad I went back there, and I'm glad it's still good. There's nothing worse in this world than you find a really good coffee shop, and I mean, I am a coffee snob unashamedly, but you find a really good coffee shop in a place and you don't go there for a few years because of reasons, and then suddenly you go back there and the coffee's shit and the food's shit and the people are surly and something has changed. The cloud of evil has descended from the sky and wrapped itself around this little cafe, and then everything's gone to shit and you don't like it anymore. That's happened to me a number of times. It's happened in a few different places around Melbourne. And the weird thing about it is it's incredibly difficult to make bad coffee in Melbourne because the coffee roasters are all fantastic. It's not expensive to get good coffee here if you're you own a cafe, and there's an abundance of people willing to sell it to you. But for some reason, some people just go the cheap and end up with incredibly bad coffee in their cafes because they're cost cutting and all that kind of gear, and don't like it at all. I think it's really shitty, but it happens egregiously often. Okay, bit of baguette, and that's a real shame. I think they should have something like the National Trust for Good Cafes, where if you get a really good cafe with really good coffee, friendly staff, nice food and snacks, there should be a protection order put on it, so that when you once you've got it to that state of perfection, you can't change it without having the government approve the changes. I think the world would be a better place if that happened. Not everybody would agree, because I do have some random ideas that don't meet with the approval of people who actually own things and people who actually run businesses. But I think that's a good idea. National Trust for Coffee Shops. Don't care about restaurants. Restaurants can be hit and miss. Don't care. But coffee shops are sacred places for me. I'm going to try to go down here, even though I don't quite know where I'm going. But that's part of the fun of these drives, is not quite knowing where I'm going. And this road's looking a bit steep. Steeper than I thought it would be. Look at this. All the way down here. But yeah, I really appreciated that coffee. It was a nice way to start my coffee morning. Though, to be honest with you, I had one before I left home. My coffee intake, as I may have mentioned before on the channel, I don't know whether I have, is 3 espressos a day, which is nice. I mean, I've had up to 8 one time, and it nearly drove me mad, but 3 is about the sweet spot for me, and my doctor approves. And so 3 coffees a day, I savour them more. You know, I try to make sure they're good. There's nothing worse than having a ration of something you really enjoy, and then just having it, having 1/3 of that ration be total shit. I think that's something I don't like. There's a T intersection up here, and I wonder if I go to the right whether I'll end up at the beach, because I don't quite remember my way around here. But there you go. So yeah, good coffee. It's not a bad morning. There's not a lot of wind. There's not that horrible wintry wind that knocks you on your ass and chills you to the bone and makes you wish you were somewhere tropical. Haven't got any of that. All we've got is a little bit of cold air sitting over the area. I mean, Europe at the moment, really hot in Europe for Europe, 30 degrees plus, and because the houses aren't built for it, everybody is making lots of noise about the weather in Europe. But I wonder if I can, let me just check this out. Yeah, I bet I can. If I go in here, it's a parking lot, and I may be able to get to the beach if I walk. And yes, I can walk. It looks like this is the dog park for the beach. There's a part of the beach where doggos are allowed. So what I'm going to do is park here, grab the Osmo Pocket camera, not this GoPro that you're seeing me on, but the one that's showing forward, and see what the weather's like. And I'll take a bit of my baguette with me and see how we go. Yeah, I'm still chewing. But we've got a sign here that says we're in a conservation zone on Wadawurrung country. There's a swamp wallaby. Keep off the dunes, give wildlife a space, keep your dogs on a lead. So there's a path up here, up the hill, and just over the hill, on the morning side of the mountain, is the Southern Ocean. And if you go south, directly south from here, the next land you hit is Antarctica. I kid you not, it goes right past Tasmania. And Antarctica is the next land. And here we are, made it to the top of the hill. Let's pop that up a bit. Yep, the ocean, and the tide's way up. So there's not much beach there to walk on. But I'll go down a bit further and the waves are crashing in. Over there in the distance you can see Barwon Head. Not the town, but the head itself. I'm not going down any further. But there's the beach where people walk their dogs. The beach goes all the way around to Barwon Head. There's the dunes you're not allowed to walk on. And if we go around here, this way, you can see the rest of the coast of the Bellarine Peninsula. And the weather isn't as shitty as I thought it might be. I was a bit worried about that fog, but nope. And down that way, if you look very, very closely in the distance, you might see Antarctica, about 8,000 kilometers away. I'm just going to sit here and have a bit of a quiet contemplate of the ocean, and I'll get back to you in a moment. But there's more to see on the Bellarine Peninsula. I mean, this ain't all of the vid, this is just the start of the vid. This is the bit to get things going. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to sit here and zen out on the beach, and then we'll go somewhere else. And there's a sign telling you about the area we're in. So I recommend you freeze frame on that and just read through it. Okay, we're back in the vehicle again, in the RAV4, and I'm going to ease my way out of this car park if I don't hit these people behind me, and wouldn't that make a good video? And we're going to head off along the peninsula some more. I've finished the baguette, I've had a nice little chill, and we're on the road again. Had to be careful when I was filming down on the beach, because there was a woman in a bikini going into the water, which at this time of year is something I don't recommend, but you know, she is her own person. And I didn't want to kind of do the pervy thing where you're filming people without their knowledge, so I didn't. Okay, let's see. Hopefully this camera is picking me up nicely. Going past the Ocean Grove Hotel. Hey, there's a bus route here. I could have taken free public transport. Oh no, damn! It's only a school bus stop. So there isn't a way for me to get here by public transport. I really should finish that trip I did before, where I tried to get from my place to my in-laws' place by public transport, and it takes like 7 or 8 different buses to do it. I didn't quite finish it because we had a family emergency and I had to stop early, but I really should do that. Maybe I'll get a middle-aged geegaw to drop me off at her parents' place and I'll start the trip there. That might be the way to do it. But I don't mind long bus rides. I've kind of got used to them now. I prefer driving because driving is autonomous. You can be random. You're not fixed to a route, and you can just groove. You can play your tunes. You can just chill out, and I enjoy that part of it. But I don't mind taking buses and trains and trams. And I think this free public transport blitz that we had has really given me a taste for that. It's it's something I'm going to do further on the channel in future, but it is kind of groovy to do. Okay, I think I've got to turn right here. I'm willing to be wrong, but I believe I do. Looks like we're getting a bit of the post-school drop-off traffic, which I find I get a lot of when I'm out doing things. Okay, you're turning there. Just got to wait for this other one. And we'll be back on the road to where we're going. We're going to end up at Queenscliff eventually, but I'm going to stop off at a couple of places before that. Queenscliff is the point at the end of the peninsula where you can take a ferry to the other side of Port Phillip Bay. And from there, you can take the roads around to Melbourne. I'm explaining that badly, but the ferry is expensive, particularly if you've got a car. So I'm not doing that today. If you want to contribute, you can become a patron at patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies. And if you do that, that may well help a bit. But as things are, it's a little over the budget I've got for this trip. And I don't mind the ferry ride. I've done it a couple of times. And occasionally, this time of year in particular, you do get some dolphins who are swimming alongside the ferry, which is always a plus. And you go past Mud Island and Chinaman's Hat. I've actually been in a boat near, they've got an old kind of little lighthousey thing in the bay called Chinaman's Hat. Yes, I know it's a politically incorrect and racist kind of thing to call it, but that's what it's called. And there are a whole bunch of seals that live there. And I went in summertime on a boat ride around there, like a tour. And there is nothing in this world that smells quite as bad or quite as memorably bad as a seal colony. And the seals have all shitted all over the stanchions and the planks of this little thing in the middle of the bay. And it smells like every fish in the world died of leprosy. It is just an incredibly bad smell. And we had to move the boat around so we weren't downwind of this smell of the seals. I think I've still got scar tissue on the inside of my nasal passages from that. But you go past that if you go on the ferry, but we're not doing the ferry. The other thing too is, when I'm driving country roads, you always leave your headlights on in Australia. It's just one of those things where it makes your car just that little bit more visible. And because of that, it makes things just a little bit safer. So we're we're basically flanking the coast here to get to eventually Queenscliff. But there are a couple of places before that I want to take a look at. Or I may not. You know how this goes. It gets random on this channel. And I just kind of serendipitously discover things, or I skip things because I can't be stuffed doing them. I am a creature of not so much habit as chaos. So here we are. Where we are at the moment, the peninsula narrows to a bottleneck, which is only about 200 metres wide. And they've got a marine discovery centre on part of it and the road, and that's about all there's room for. But we're heading up towards Point Lonsdale, and if I can find where the turn-off is, we'll go down and take a look at that as well as we peregrinate along the road here. That baguette was good. Oh. Had pesto on it, it had a little bit of rocket, it had some sun-dried tomatoes, and it had salami, and it was all pressed together. It was chef's kiss lovely. And if you are in Barwon Heads, you've got to go to Coffetti. Really, really nice. Not expensive, which is the other virtue. Let's see. I'm going straight ahead here. Lots and lots of roundabouts. We're out of the Geelong Council area, City of Greater Geelong. I hope I have put maps up so you know where the hell I'm driving and you're not just looking at the video and seeing random stuff. I do try to contextualise where I'm going. In fact, we're off the main road now and we're into the village of whatever. Have I been down this way before? I don't know. It doesn't look terribly familiar, but that's good. All of these houses, of course, are egregiously expensive now because they are within pissing distance of water, and where that happens, the prices go up enormously. What I've done is I've done a little loop, and I'm back. I'm at Point Lonsdale. If I go this way, I wonder if I'm going to reach Port Lonsdale at all, or whether I'm going to go straight through to Queenscliff. I don't know. It's all a bit wiggly around here. There's a memorial over there to Guillermo Marconi, the guy who invented radio, I think. I don't know why, but I'll find out later. Where the hell are we? We're out where the trams don't run. And there's a bone orchard over there on our right. And I've had enough of those in the last year to suit me for a long time. Ah, there is a bus route here, but I don't know where it goes. Let me know if you want me to try that one day. I could actually try to do public transport all the way from Melbourne to Queenscliff. Because if there is a bus that goes from somewhere around Geelong, I can do it. Hey, look, there's water on the side of us. There's the ocean, and across there is the other side of Port Phillip Bay. So we're kind of near the heads. Okay, I actually ended up somewhere where I probably wanted to be. And there's a guy in his speedos. Here's the thing about little towns like this. You've got to go by the vibe. Point Lonsdale does not have good coffee in it. I can tell you that right from the word go. None of the coffee shops looking along here. There's a place called Pasquini's. No. You go by vibe. I've got like telepathic powers when it comes to coffee. I can tell you which are the good coffee shops and which aren't. Pico, that's about okay. It's going to be mid coffee in there. But for me, I do have a sixth sense when it comes to where the good coffee is and where the bad coffee is. And Point Lonsdale just didn't have the vibe. Okay, I can't do a right-hand turn here. What can I do? I can go straight ahead. Never been here. This is Port Phillip Heads. This is the opening of the enormous bay where Melbourne sits at the top end of. Am I allowed to drive up there or not? Let's find out. Let's go and have a look at the signs. Authorised vehicles only. I don't think I'm authorised, so we won't do that. But what I will do is I'll park here where all the puddles are, because of course I will, and we'll walk up the hill, another hill I've got to walk up, and we'll have a look and see what we can see. There's a lighthouse up there. Very groovy. It'd be nice to come up here at night and see it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to walk up the hill and see what I can see. Okay, there's the lighthouse, and we're at the top of things. And it says danger, unstable cliffs down here. So I'm going to be a bit careful. And the stairs are chained off there, showing how unstable the cliff is. Check this out. The rocks are pretty groovy. There's some nice rock caves down there. And down here as well. Never been here. This is the south head of Port Phillip Bay, and there is Port Phillip Bay over there. And on the other side is Sorrento. And if you go just to the right of that peninsula over there, to a place called Cheviot Beach, we lost a Prime Minister there, Harold Holt. The Prime Minister of Australia drowned off that beach and they never found the body. That's okay though, because he was a Liberal Party Prime Minister, he wasn't Labor. But all the shipping that goes to Melbourne and back comes through this channel. And the currents and the reefs here are pretty treacherous. You've got to be a bit careful with things. If we look over here, there's a jetty, and beyond that you can see Queenscliff, where we're heading next. I would love to come here when the weather's really rough, when there's like this waves crashing onto the cliffs and all of that. That'd be very groovy. I'm not sure what this shed is down here, but it does something. Yeah, never been here. I've been to Queenscliff dozens and dozens of times, but I've never been here to Point Lonsdale. I'm going to have to take Sal here, I think, and just show her what's down here. I think the guys on the end of that pier over there are fishing, because it might be a good place to fish. Yeah, good to get out of the house now and then, isn't it? Let me just unzoom. So here we are. There's some people turned up watching me talk to myself. But we'll get back down the hill and we'll check out something else, eh? We've found another historical marker down here. The voyage to Queenscliff on the paddle steamers lasted about 3 hours. Cool. Okay, let's go to Queenscliff, which is oddly named because I don't think there is a gay bar in Queenscliff. But we'll get it back out and we'll try not to back over anybody, because again that would be a bad moment for the video. It's very cozy in the car. I've got the heating on, so I may even open the window a little bit even if it does affect the sound quality for the audio. They have a music festival every year at Queenscliff too, which I have kind of been around but never been to. They kind of fence off large areas of the public space in Queenscliff. Lovely house over there on the left. They fence off large areas of Queenscliff for the music festival, but if you're wandering around outside, you can hear the music, which is kind of cool. But we're going to go back through Point Lonsdale here, the place with the chic coffee. I can guarantee, because there are people at the coffee shops, that one's empty. That one's empty, well, apart from two old ladies. And yeah, it doesn't have the good coffee vibe that Barwon Heads has. And we're just going to scoot around the bay and head to Queenscliff, which is replete with beautiful old buildings. This place not so much, but Queenscliff's got some beautiful heritage buildings as a part of it. I kind of like off season. I've been down this way in summer on a weekend, and it's rammed with people coming down for day trips from Melbourne. You've got to remember there's like nearly 6 million people in Melbourne, and if a tiny percentage of that goes on a day trip, any place they go to, it's going to be crazily rammed. So I don't tend to do that on weekends. All of these vlogs are going to be done on weekdays if I can help it, unless it's something specific to a weekend like a market. I'm not going to be vlogging during the daytime most of the time because, on the weekend, I'm not going to be vlogging on a weekend most of the time because it's just too busy. And also, if I want to be a bit silly about it, there are probably other vloggers there as well. But instead, we're doing this on a Thursday. So I've got this schedule. Like I had to do a live. I either release a live stream or a video for the other channel on a Monday. I do another one on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and the one I did today got released today. The one I did yesterday got released today. And then I do one on Friday for Saturday. So I've got to kind of squeeze the travel channel videos in between those schedules. And it's sometimes a little harder than others, which is why at the moment the regularity of the travel videos has suffered a bit, and I apologise for that. I'd love to do a lot more, and I will be doing a lot more during winter. I've got that project to do the upfield train line and walk the distance of that, but again, it just depends on the time of the week. Little milk bar there. And it looks like we have lost the school drop-off traffic, which is good. And we're just going to chuck a right at this roundabout and head to Queenscliff, which used to be nicer than it is now in some ways. There used to be, once upon a time, probably in the 90s if I recall correctly, a few more junk stores, like little junky antique places in Queenscliff, which I always loved going to because I usually bought things I didn't need. And they'd occasionally have some vinyl there that was crazy cheap. They'd have some second-hand paperbacks and all that kind of stuff, which I really love. But it's gone a bit upmarket. The rental prices for shops are a lot higher. So those little interstitial liminal kind of shops, little junky shops, don't exist anymore. The economics just don't allow that, which is a bit of a shame because I really enjoyed them. And the other thing I've heard too is that those smaller size paperbacks, not trade paperbacks, but like standard paperbacks, nobody's making them anymore. There's not a reason economically to stick it in your back pocket paperbacks anymore, which is a shame because I've got a lot of them stored away in the man cave. You never see them on a video, but I've got a lot of them stored away in the man cave, and I love them. They were always great. I could always, when I was walking around Sydney a lot, when I lived in Sydney back in the first half of my life, I could bung a Ian Fleming paperback in my pocket. By the way, this is the bit where the peninsula narrows to about 200 metres wide. You got this side here, and you got just beyond the trees. That's all you got. But anyway, I've got Bung and Ian Fleming paperback in my pocket. Go for a long walk around the harbour in Sydney, and then just sit on a rock and read a book. And I kind of miss that. I've got my Kindle now, which is about the same size, and I do like reading books on Kindle. I've actually started reading a lot more books now than I did for maybe 6 or 7 years. I got myself a new Kindle for my birthday, and now I'm getting through a book a week, which I'm very proud of. I haven't rejected books, and I'm not just reading web pages which can be changed at the whim of an administrator. I'm reading books now, and I'm kind of glad that I am. So here's the wiggly road to Queenscliff. Temperatures got up to 13 degrees. Now just around this curve on the right, there used to be one of those junk shops I was talking to you about. Well, I don't need to indicate because I'm going on a curve. But it used to be just around the corner here. And I love stopping there. And now, what have they done with it? Let's have a look. It's a wellness company, it says, and a general store on the corner. So that's what they do. They take away junk shops and put wellness shops in. By the way, the Royal Hotel here on the left is beautiful. Old school. Everybody famous in the late 19th century in Australia came to Queenscliff for various events. Nellie Melba and all sorts of colonisers turned up at Queenscliff because it was away from Melbourne. You got away from the horse shit and the opium dens of Melbourne, and you came down here and stayed at a nice hotel. So we're up on the main drag of Queenscliff now, and there are still some nice things here. There's bookshops, there's a couple of op shops. Is the op shop here open? Yep, it is. I might, on my way out of town, take a look at that. And this church on the right here is one of my favourite churches in Victoria because it's a bookshop. It's not a church anymore. It's an art bookshop on the corner there. And I thoroughly approve of that transition. So here we are. There is an emporium here, Eddie's Emporium on the left, which sells lots of second-hand gear and is really groovy. But as you can see, old buildings all the way along here. The old post office is here, the Queenscliff Library. It gets down to the bay here, and if you look across the bay, when we go down here, past the little choo-choo train stop where they have steam trains going on weekends, across here there's an island called Swan Island, and I know something about Swan Island not everybody knows, because most of Swan Island across the bay there is actually owned by the Australian Security Intelligence Service, and they train spooks and spies and slow horses there. Not the kind of shooting parts, but they teach them demolitions and tradecraft over on Swan Island. It's not a secret, but it's just one of those things they don't let everybody know. But it's in Wikipedia, so I'm telling you that spies are trained just across the bay there. And wouldn't you love to go on one of those training courses? That'd be fun. Here we are, we're heading toward where the ferry goes, and there are a whole bunch of fishmongers basically here. You can buy fresh fish from the bay here, and there's a maritime museum here. There's a couple of shops down here. I'm going to go down as far as I can and then chuck a Yui, because it does look kind of cool here. And they repair boats and all sorts of things here. It's a working port to a certain extent. There's a big lookout with it up the top here, with the curly whirly stairs going up to it, but I'm not doing that because they charge you money to go into that. And there's a few shops here, there's a few cafes and stuff like that. To be honest, if you've got the option, don't go to these ones because they're fairly prosaic. Head up into town and you'll get a much better choice of, and there you can see the ferry terminal. You get a much better choice of food and drink up in the town. And I am going to open that window because I'm actually feeling a bit warm. So we're going to go back, and I'll go back the back way because prettier houses. And over here on the left is where the music festival is, in these parklands. They basically blocked them off and put up a whole bunch of stages, and the music festival's there every year. It's bounced back nicely from the lockdowns and things like that, but last time I was down here, all of this was fenced off with white canvassed fencing. But we're going to go down here past the Esplanade Hotel. And show you some pretty old buildings. I'll actually move the camera over if I can, so you can see things a little bit better there. But yeah, lots of old historic buildings here. Some of them look like the Addams family live in them, but that's just the nature of 19th century architecture. And again, all of them are more than just a little bit pricey. This one up on the hill here is nice. We have a pelican sculpture up on the balcony there for some reason. Maybe because they couldn't get a real pelican to sit still that long. And here we are back again at the main drag of the town. And I think I'll go around here and see if I can find anything in the op shop. Okay, tragic story, the op shop's not open yet because I got here too early, which I have been prone to do in various places. But now I'm going to back out and we're going to head to one of the funniest place names in all of the Bellarine Peninsula, Indented Head, which it sounds like a murder mystery, but isn't. So we're going to squirrel along there. I'm going to waffle a bit. I may edit this part down because it's a fair way, it's like 20 kilometres. But we'll see how we go, and any bits of interest I find, I will talk to you about. But here's the Point Lonsdale. It was a fort protecting the colony of Victoria against Russian invasion and other things. It was a whole big thing at the late 19th century for some reason. They thought Russia was going to invade. It didn't. And it's all because they put cannons up on the hill over there. So here we go. We're going to go past where the junk shop used to be in the past, before it became the Wellness Company. Bellarine Wellness Company. So you can get your chakras lined up there, but you can't find old movies and books. There's a school there with lots of sproggies. Looks like they're going on a school excursion, half their luck. Though to be fair, this road trip's a bit of a school excursion for me. Let me work it out. I'm just going to crunch the numbers in my head. 54 years ago I left school. I was 15 years and 1 month. So 54 years ago I left school. And then I started to get an education. I educated myself. Autodidactic me. I do like this little avenue of trees ahead too, by the way. I think there's some kind of cypress or something, and they form a really nice arch over the road here for just a little bit. Yeah, the Marine Discovery Centre's over here on the right. And it's got one of those roofs that are covered in grass, which is kind of cool. And you can technically walk onto the roof if you want to, and you know, like shoot some golf balls over the bay. Here's another one of these avenues of trees. I don't know whether this is one of the avenues of honour things, because a lot of towns and places around Australia have avenues of honour in the roads leading in and out of town, which were there to commemorate people who died during the World Wars, and so they always have an avenue of honour. The biggest one I know of is in the far side of Ballarat, and it goes on for like 10 kilometres, and each of these trees, which are fairly tightly packed along the 10 kilometres, commemorates a fallen soldier. And it doesn't, and that's just the fallen soldiers from the region. It's not like from all of Australia, but it's just like the soldiers who died during the wars from that part of the world. And it's a very sobering thing to go there and realise that whole generations of young men were murdered or crippled for empire, and because somebody else's empire wanted to get everything. And it's still happening. Reminds me of my grandfathers used to put on a sprig of rosemary onto their lapels and march every Anzac Day, because they were both returned servicemen. And then they get drunk with their mates and play two-up, which is almost a uniquely Australian game that requires a small plank, not even a plank necessarily, but 2 pennies, and you can play a gambling game called two-up, where you flip the 2 coins into the air, and the betters bet whether it's going to be one of each, 2 heads or 2 tails. And it's only legal to play it in most of Australia on Anzac Day, because the soldiers did that during the war. When they had downtime, they played two-up and gamble away their wages. The only time I ever played two-up was illegal. Once upon a time, I used to be a kitchen hand in a restaurant in Rozelle in Sydney. And it was kind of a European-style restaurant. They did steak chasseur and things like that. Chicken chasseur, sorry, and various French and Dutch dishes. And every Friday and Saturday nights, we'd get an order from the illegal casino a few doors away, which was in an old warehouse building on the corner. And I'll actually show you the building on Google Maps. It's not like that anymore, but it was before we had legal casinos. And so we'd take a couple of meals up to the illegal casino, and they'd tip you and pay you. And it was just done. The meals were usually for the manager, who was a lady who used to run brothels. And to get to them, you'd have to go through 2 very strong steel doors, which were reinforced so that the police couldn't break in easily. And there were these 2 enormous mountains of men who were the bouncers for the casino. They were enormous. And they had a big TV in the entry area where they were, where they'd watch the horse racing or something on the TV. And so when I used to go up there to deliver the meals, I'd have to press the buzzer, tell them who I was, get entered through 2 more steel doors after that, go upstairs to where the casino was. And I was having a chat with the people there, and they said, well, if you want to come down after work one night, you can come to the downstairs area where they play two-up. And I thought, yeah, and I had $20 to spare at the time. So my friend Womble and she and I went to the casino. She's now dead, unfortunately. Great friend. And we went in the casino, went downstairs into what was just basically a concreted area that hadn't been rebuilt into anything. I played two-up for a while. She won $20, I lost $20. And that's the only time I've ever played two-up, because I wasn't prone to gamble very much. Weird thing is, even at the two-up, there were a lot of people with a lot of money betting on that game. It was incredibly popular. You got 3 potential outcomes. The house usually kept one of each, but the gamblers could either pick heads or tails. So the house percentage was about 30%, 33%. But yeah, so that was me at illegal casinos. And not everybody knew about that casino either. People would go past it every day and not know I was there. So I worked as a kitchen hand there for about 8 months. Got some fairly good cooking skills and knife skills in. And then I quit work so I could hitchhike to Adelaide for a bit of a holiday. And I did that and then found another job when I got back. But I never worked in a kitchen again because it's hard work. Working as a kitchen hand is a very difficult job. For a start, you're working evenings and nighttime, and that's a difficult thing because your social life goes totally west. Friday and Saturday nights you're working, so socially you can't do a lot because you're too busy until about 2 in the morning after you do cleanup. So unless you're in a stable relationship, which I wasn't then, I was single, there's really nothing you can do socially when you were working in a restaurant. So people who do hospo, a lot of respect for them. I've been there, I've done my share. No, I don't want to go into the big four. That's a caravan park. I'm looking for the road that turns right here and will take me to Indented Head. I got all distracted by my nostalgia. And up ahead we've got all of the council workers trimming back the trees so they don't interfere with the power lines here. So we're basically going through the middle of the Bellarine Peninsula now, and we're going to take a cut to the north, and from there head to the coast again. So we're cutting like a quarter of the peninsula off by doing this because it's basically swamp in that corner that we're cutting off. There's nothing but swamp land and no roads to speak of. Even a goat wouldn't like to go through. We're into Wellington on the Bellarine according to that sign, which is tiny. It's hardly a place at all. It's like 3 or 4 large farms and that's it. Maybe a little bit more now. They've got a mitre 10 across there. The service station. And as you can see, there's lots of people with campers they rent to drive along the Great Ocean Road, and this is probably the starting point of it for them. And it looks like they've had a shower because there's water leaking out of the back of that camper van. So the grey water is just leaking onto the road. So yeah, we head over to Drysdale and then to the Indented Head. And then back to Portarlington, because we've been to Portarlington before on this channel. Went to the market there. And that's where you can get a ferry all the way to Melbourne once a day. They've got one ferry that goes up to Melbourne and another one after work that brings people back. And it costs a fair bit. So it's for people who are cashed up and live in Portarlington. And it takes about an hour for the ferry to pretty much go the entire length of Port Phillip Bay to ferry people to and from Melbourne, and it pulls up at Docklands. If you look back at my video of the longest tram route in Melbourne, you'll see the ferry terminal where these ferries terminate at the other end. Everything loops around on this channel. We've got a place there that sells honey, a couple of wineries, because they do some cold climate wine around here. So most of the peninsula is like this. It's farming country for the most part. And the other story about the Bellarine Peninsula I've got is when I was working for Defence and got my ride in a Black Hawk helicopter from Laverton down to here, I was 2 kilometres above us on the Bellarine Peninsula while the helicopters did manoeuvres. While the helicopter did manoeuvres like power turns and counter-rotating the rotors and dropping a kilometre vertically with no power to the rotors. All that kind of gear we did just up here, which is kind of groovy. I'd love to do it again. I think I still got it in me to do a training run in a Black Hawk helicopter, as long as I don't have to rappel out of it on a rope. I can still do that. And one of the things I don't tell you about Black Hawk helicopters when you are riding in one is if you're in the back and you're facing like out towards facing the sides, you're strapped in, you've got earplugs in because of the noise, and about half a metre behind your head is an enormous jet engine which runs a helicopter. So the engine for it is like half a metre behind your head. It's an extraordinary experience. Hey, they've got a potato shed here. I'm going over. I'm going to check out the fucking potato shed, because we all know I like the potato shed down near Yarragon. So I am checking out the potato shed. I don't know whether it's open. That's a mystery. But I'm checking it out because this channel has an addiction to potato shed. And we're going alongside the highway here. I don't even know whether it's open or not, because I'm not au courant with the opening hours of the potato shed. There's St Thomas School, which is a private Catholic school, obviously. And we're going past the school pickup zone. And there's a Catholic church. Now, where's the potato shed? They're putting in an aquatic centre. St Ignatius College. So they've got even more Catholic schools there. I think they've got one for boys and one for girls. And there's the sign saying the potato shed. Let's see what we can find. Serendipitous potato shed. It's right near the school. Bellarine Arts Centre. Because nothing says arts quite as much as a potato shed. They've lied to me, there's no potato shed here. What the fuck's happened? Unless I've missed it. I'm not going to chase a potato shed. I don't think that's a dignified thing to do. Unless it's like a shed attached to the school. I don't know. It's an art centre. That's what it is. It's the art centre there is called the potato shed. So they misled me. See, Catholic churches are misleading in more ways than one. And so I've been misled by the potato shed. It's not like the one that's down in the Latrobe Valley, where you can actually buy a million kinds of potatoes and potato chips and some very nice marinated olives. I will have to have words to the local council about that, because we potato fans are a very grumpy bunch. I know the reason why they've got this roundabout here, by the way. It's so that people can do the school drop-off easily. So we're kind of at the northwestern entrance to the Bellarine Peninsula now. We've kind of gone all the way out of the peninsula, now we're going back in. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll be heading to Portarlington and Indented Heads further along. But I do have to stop at Portarlington because I had a phone call with a middle-aged geek girl, and I promised her I would try to find a vanilla slice, which is called a snot block here, for reasons best known to teenagers. And I believe I can get her a vanilla slice at the bakery at Portarlington. So we're going to do a bit of that. The weather stayed good too. It hasn't rained. It was threatening to. When I went to the beach, there were a few drops of rain around, but it's not doing it, and that's kind of cool. So I might not do Indented Head this time around. It's not particularly fancy, But I'll get us to Portarlington and I'll finish the vlog there. And then I'll fang it back home again to deliver the vanilla slice, the snot block, to the snot block aficionado of the family. There's an op shop in Portarlington too, really funky op shop. Wonder if I want to go there. I'd ask you, but you're seeing this after I got home, so no use doing that. What time is it too? It's 10 o'clock in the morning, so I haven't really spent all the day doing this. There's a sign there that says there are olive groves out here as well. So they grow olives out here. The only Australian olives I've ever had aren't really great. There's another olive place just about 12 kilometres north of where I live. And I've tried their olives as well. They tend to be quite tiny olives. And they're not juicy and tasty the way the proper olives are. They mostly use them to crush them for olive oil. And then they get some EVOO out of it. But yeah, I haven't had good Australian olives. I've had good Australian olive oil, but never had good Australian olives, which is a bit of a pity because we've got a lot of climates and a lot of terrains here that are perfect for olive growing, but I don't know whether they just don't give them to me, but the olives tend to be a little bit ordinary here. If anybody thinks differently and has some Australian olives they want to share with me, I'm more than happy to receive them. My postal address is in the description of the video. So if you want to send me olives, go send me olives. I'm willing to be wrong about this because I do like an olive. 8 kilometres to Portarlington. Speaking of good foods, the mussels that they harvest in the bay and bring up at Portarlington are fantastic. Had them before, and they used to have a little floating boat at the pier at Portarlington where you could get really good mussels from Portarlington at about half the price of buying them up in Melbourne. Sally doesn't like mussels, which means there's more for me. Best mussels I ever had were in the Bay of Islands in New Zealand. We were there on our honeymoon, and the local supermarket sold live mussels for about $2 a kilo, and that's $2 New Zealand, which is like 3 cents Australian. And I cooked them up with some butter, some white wine in a pot, steamed them up in that, and a bit of garlic. Fantastic. Cooking mussels is the easiest thing in the world. You need garlic, you need a bit of white wine, you need some butter, and you need a pot and a source of heat. That's it. And they come up really well. More wineries up ahead. They're selling top quality hay down here as well. And you might have seen some of the vineyard there. The terroir is better down here than it is up in Melbourne, around Melbourne. Though they do grow some in Mount Macedon, north of Melbourne. But Melbourne itself is in a weird kind of area where it's cloudy a lot in wintertime. But once you get across the tail end of the Great Dividing Range, which ends north of Melbourne, it becomes a lot sunnier, and you get a lot more sunny days and a lot less cloud if you go up there or if you come down here. And so the olives and the wine grapes tend to grow better if you're away from Melbourne. Though up in the Yarra Valley, east of Melbourne, there's a lot of places that grow wine grapes. There's Domaine Chandon, where they do champagne type wines. One of the big tourist things in Melbourne is you get a whole bunch of alcoholic tourists. You put them in a bus, you drive them for 2 hours up the Yarra Valley, and you let them get shit-faced sampling the wines up there. We've already talked about that once on the channel. Not my kind of bag. If it was gin, I'd consider it because I do like a good gin. Though I find that my favourite gins are always the ones with juniper berries in them and those kind of aromatics. I don't like gins that have got all the different flavours of any kind of soft drink. I like a good, sharp juniper berry gin. want to send me gin too. They've got a place there called Mr. Mussel that sells fresh local mussels and fish, because we're just reaching Portarlington now, just as the rain starts trickling in. I always get sad going past, I don't know if they do it in other places in the world, but where someone's died in a car accident, there usually is like a memento mori on the side of the road. There's a little cross with flowers that are replaced regularly by the loved ones of the person or people who have died. And at random intervals around the place, you'll see these little memento mori along the side of the road commemorating where somebody died. They've actually got one about 3 kilometres from my place on Heath Road. And it's always a bit sobering, and it makes you slow down just that little bit when you're driving past them, which I suppose is a good thing. But there are way too many of them, of course. And up ahead beyond the Woolworths truck, you will see Port Phillip Bay looking up toward Melbourne. So we're heading north. And the other question is, do I know anywhere in Portarlington that does good coffee? I don't know that I do. I could wait till I get home and make a good coffee at home, because I do have good beans in an espresso machine and the mad skills to do a good coffee myself. Or do I want one here? Why I'm asking you, over here's a fresh seafood place. But yeah, I'm going to stop at the bakery. I will get a snot block for sale. And by the way, the camera, the GoPro's just emptied its battery, so I'm not recording my face at the moment, but the rest of me is recording. And I've got another GoPro, come to think of it. I can replace that, but I'll do it for the way home. But I might get myself a meat pie. I've been good. I've been loquacious and charming and interesting on this video. So I might well get myself a meat pie to fortify my body and soul for the drive back to Melbourne. And here we are in the township of Portarlington. And there's the bakehouse across the road. But if I can chuck a Yui, there's a parking spot there for me. I think I will do just that. There's a few parking spots on that side. We've got a Portarlington Brass Band concert series, just to torture those of us who have perfect pitch. In this park over on the left is where the market was last time we were in town. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Okay, got my pie, got the vanilla slice for sale, so all is well with the world. I'm going to go down to the waterfront just to show you around, and from there I'll head back. Pie was pretty good. It's always good at the bakery there. So here we are heading down to Portarlington Pier. Now I do have an ulterior motive for going down here, because as I have done once before on the channel, I need to use their toilet. And all of these cars parked here are the commuters who take the ferry to Melbourne. And I just got to find a parking spot. Okay, back on the road, heading home. Okay, I've got the navigation on, but I'm going to turn it off. Okay, yeah, heading back. Not a bad morning. Got a few things done. And just got to head up here and onto the main road again. And now, as we used to say when I was a kid, it's time to do tatas. That's the end of the video. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, tell me which bits you liked, because I am refining the process of doing these videos, and I would like to get a bit of feedback to help out, because the travel vlogs are very different from the movie vlog. If you want to support the channel, you can become a patron at patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies, and you also get to be a part of our Discord server over there, and I may put in a special area for people who like the travel channel as well. I can put in a whole bunch of different threads on that, so that's going to be useful to do. So anyway, going to go home, going to deliver the goods to the girl. Until next time, look after yourself, travel around, have tiny little adventures if you can't do really big ones, and I'll catch you next time.